Bonjour and welcome back. This is the second video in this brief series about Olympic landmarks in Paris, things that you're going to see during the games that you may have seen before or not. You may know what they are or not, but we're going to help out with that in this video. Before we get started though, I'm told we've got an awesome intro set up for this one, so I'll see you in just a minute. Where was the intro, guys? You know, we spent our intro budget on a month of Peacock so I could watch the Olympic Games. Bonjour, bon après-midi, or bonsoir, depending on what time it is when you're watching this video. Welcome back. This is part 2 in a short series of videos about the Paris Olympic Games and landmarks that you may be seeing or have seen during the coverage, and a little bit of history and interesting things about those. My name is Patrick Fager. I love all things French. I'm really enjoying the Olympics. I have to say, if you have not watched any, please take a look on Peacock or YouTube. Go back and watch coverage of some of the things that have already happened. So in this video, we're going to be looking at a few more landmarks and how they are relating to the games, where you might have seen them in the NBC coverage of the Olympics so far. So I will be including, again, some little pronunciation guides underneath some of the names of these places. This is nothing official, just something to help you kind of understand a little bit more about the pronunciation. Right. So last time we talked about the Eiffel Tower and a few things that were kind of in a line there, landmark-wise in Paris. This time we're going to talk about another long line of landmarks there in Paris. This is going to involve a little more than the last video. So let's jump right in and get started. The first landmark is something that you have very likely at least heard of in the past. And it is the Musée du Louvre, or the Louvre as it's commonly referred to. This is the big art museum in Paris. It's one of the best art museums, the best art museum I've ever seen, and definitely at least one of the best in the world. The Louvre has been around in Paris in some form since the late 1100s. That's a long time. 1190, it was built originally as a medieval castle to fill in kind of a weak part of the wall around the city of Paris by Philippe Auguste. The cool thing about that is that even though it's a more modern palace that we'll talk about in just a second, you can still go down to the basement of the Louvre and you can see the original foundations, those medieval foundations down beneath the current museum. After that, it was used as a royal residence by a lot of the rulers of France and of Paris. For many years, Louis XIV eventually moved all of that stuff out to Versailles, which we'll be talking about in a later video. During the Revolution, the revolutionaries decided to create this museum and to dedicate the Louvre as a museum. So it went from palace to museum. Already had lots of art there just because it had been a palace, and royal people for some reason have a lot of cool art. But established as a museum during the Revolution, currently has around 200,000 or more probably works of art that reside there in the Louvre. Some of the notable ones and most famous, of course, the Mona Lisa, right, #1 by Leonardo da Vinci. Super famous, so that's one thing that everybody goes there to see. The Venus de Milo, or the Venus de Milo, is the famous statue of a woman without arms, right, the the armless Venus. Also the what's known as the Winged Victory, or Nike, of Samothrace. So many cool things there, you could spend a really long time looking at it all. So that's the museum. The part that we know today is the Musée du Louvre. In the courtyard of the museum, you can see and visit the glass pyramids, which are designed and installed by I.M. Pei, famous architect, to add a touch of kind of the modern to the Louvre Museum. So as far as the Olympic Games and the Louvre, what you might have seen, during the opening ceremony, the Olympic flame was carried there at the pyramid, the glass pyramid of the Louvre, and then was carried on kind of down this line of landmarks that we're going to be talking about today. In the coverage, you can see the athletes who were carrying the flame. You can see them running underneath this big arch. Okay, triumphal arches are a big thing throughout history, especially back in the Roman times, back in Rome. The triumphal arch that is near the Louvre is called and is known as the Arc de Triomphe du Carrousel. Now, this is different than the Arc de Triomphe that you're used to seeing in pictures of Paris. This one, like the larger one, was also commissioned by Napoleon to commemorate some of his victories in Austria. It's easily recognized from the other big arch because of the three small arches inside the main landmark there. So we have the Louvre, we have the Arc de Triomphe du Carrousel, and then from there, the athletes carried the flame on into what is known as the Jardin des Tuileries, or the Tuileries Garden. This is a garden area that was made, it was initially built in 1564, so again, Paris's history of landmarks and important things goes way back. This was built for Catherine de' Medici. You may have heard of the Medici family. And this was built for her way back there in the mid-1500s. The Jardin des Tuileries is the next location. I believe that's where the current flame, the Olympic flame, was lit and resides. A cool aside, the Tuileries Garden is one of the first places that a hot air balloon was launched in Paris. And the flame, the way that it's set up now, looks like a hot air balloon. So it's kind of an homage to that little piece of history. Going from there, past the gardens, you get to what's called the Place de la Concorde. It's is important historically for a couple of reasons. Probably the biggest one is that back during the French Revolution, of course, we've mentioned how important a time that was, and that there were a lot of royals and higher up people in the society who were being executed, and they were executed by guillotine, and the Place de la Concorde was where the guillotine was set up. Louis XVI or Louis XVI was killed there by the guillotine, as were many other people. So that's kind of one of the things that it's known for historically that you can't really see now. Clearly it's not still there, thankfully. But the thing that you can see, a couple of things that you can see there now, there's a large obelisk, a monument. It was a gift from Egypt, where obelisks were monuments to great things that pharaohs and other people did. So you can see that there, and as of, I think it was probably the late 1990s, around 2000, there was a Ferris wheel that was installed there that you can go on and see, Paris as you go around. So that's another thing, the obelisk and the Ferris wheel that you can see there. As far as the Olympics go, the Place de la Concorde is where the 3-on-3 basketball tournament is being played. So if you're watching that, they may be showing some shots around there, so keep an eye open for the obelisk and for the Ferris wheel. And our next destination on this line of landmarks that we're talking about today is another place that you likely have at least heard the name of, and it is the Champs-Élysées, or the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. This is like it sounds, it's a street, it's the name of a street, but a very famous street that leads from the Place de la Concorde, we just talked about, to the next big landmark that we'll get to in just a moment. Why is it famous? Why have you heard of it before? It is a place that's got lots of shops and restaurants and residences, very high-end, very famous place to go have a meal, sit outside at a café or bistro there in Paris. People watch. It's lined with beautiful trees along both sides of that street. One thing you want to remember when you're in France, if you get hungry around breakfast time and you're thinking, man, I really want to eat a lot, you probably want to, because French food is c'est magnifique, all right? But one thing to remember, especially if you're thinking about having eggs for breakfast, is that when you're in France, if you're eating in a restaurant on the Champs-Élysées, keep this in mind. One egg is enough. You don't want to eat more than that because it's just, when you're in France, just remember that fact. One egg is enough. Okay, it's a little French humor there for you. The Champs-Élysées leads to the Arc de Triomphe, the one that you see, right? If you hear of one or you see pictures of one in Paris, this is the one. This one was also commissioned by Napoleon. Unfortunately, it was not finished before Napoleon passed away. His body did make a return trip underneath the arch when it was brought back to Paris, which is where it resides now. And we'll be talking about where that is in the next video. The Arc de Triomphe is the site of France's unknown soldier, and the eternal flame is kept there. So there's a couple of historical pieces of significance besides just the arch being the arch. One of the things we talked about the name of the Carrousel arch before. This one is referred to as the Arc de Triomphe des Étoiles. Specifically, the word étoile in French means star. So if you've ever seen pictures of the arch, you'll know that there's a giant roundabout right around the outside of this arch, and streets going off of it every which way. It's not just one of your American four branch roundabouts. So when you look at it from above, which I'm going to show you a picture here, you can see that it looks like a star, right? With the arch at the middle and then the rays kind of coming off from every angle around there. The Arc de Triomphe des Étoiles, there's not any specific sport I know of that's being played right there, and you'll definitely see it in the coverage if nothing else. Past the Arc de Triomphe, the road, the Champs-Élysées, becomes the Avenue Charles de Gaulle, who was president of France many years ago. And that leads a little ways out to an area known as La Défense. La Défense is a more modern part of Paris. It's a business center. It's got, it looks like you've got skyscrapers and much more modern architecture there, which is kind of the point. There's preservation codes over a lot of Paris, so you can't build newer stuff inside the city, but that's why La Défense was built a little further outside the city. So yes, it is a business center. It's known by some as the America on the Seine, just because it bears a resemblance more to an American downtown or city center. The big feature there at La Défense is another arch. So we have what's known as La Grande Arche de la Défense. This guy is very modern looking. It almost looks like a big staple, kind of, if you look at it, think of it that way. I'm going to put up a couple of pictures here so that you can see, because if you were in the right place from near the Louvre, you can look down the Champs-Élysées and you can see the Arc de Triomphe, and underneath the arch of the Arc, you can see the Grande Arche de la Défense. All the way down. So you can kind of see all the way down this big line of landmarks that we're talking about. And La Défense kind of gives that idea of like looking to the future, right, as something that's more modern in Paris. So looking from the past all the way down this line to the future and beyond. La Défense, the area there is where the swimming competitions are being held. So you may see or have seen shots of La Défense and the arch during the swimming competitions. That's it for this video. If you are enjoying these, please give it a like, subscribe on my channel, and I will see you next time to talk about more monuments in Paris and the Olympic Games. Au revoir!